April 11th, 1931. New York City. A private room in a Coney Island restaurant. Around the table sit the most powerful criminals in America. Italian, Jewish, Irish mobsters who've been killing each other for decades. They all hate each other. Trust no one. But one man brought them together. One man convinced them to stop the bloodshed and start making real money. One man is about to restructure American organized crime like a Fortune 500 corporation. Charles "Lucky" Luciano. The man who killed the old Mafia and created modern organized crime. He's 33 years old. In 1 year, he'll orchestrate the biggest mob hit in history, eliminating dozens of old guard bosses in a single day. He'll create the Commission, a governing body that will rule American organized crime for the next 70 years. He'll build a heroin empire that makes billions. But here's what makes Luciano different from every gangster before him. He didn't just run crime, he reinvented it. He took a primitive, violent territorial system and transformed it into a sophisticated, multi-ethnic business network that operated like General Motors. Before Luciano, the Mafia was Sicilian tradition, honor codes, blood oaths, ethnic exclusivity. After Luciano, organized crime became American capitalism, profit over tradition, cooperation over warfare, business over blood. The question is, how did a Sicilian immigrant who couldn't speak English become the architect of modern organized crime? How did he change the rules so completely that every crime syndicate worldwide still follows his blueprint? How did he prove that crime, organized properly, could be more profitable than any legitimate business? This is that story. November 24th, 1897, Sicily, Italy. Salvatore Lucania is born in the small town of Lercara Fredi. His family is poor. Sicily is desperately poor. The Mafia controls everything through violence and fear. It's primitive, brutal, based on personal vendettas and ancient codes. The Lucania family immigrates to New York, joining millions fleeing poverty for American opportunity. They settle in Manhattan's Lower East Side, one of the most crowded, poorest neighborhoods in America. Young Salvatore, now called Charles, grows up surrounded by crime. He's smart, ambitious, and realizes quickly that legitimate work means poverty. His father works brutal hours for almost nothing. Charles sees another path, the streets. By age 10, Charles is running errands for local criminals. By 14, he's dealing drugs. One day, a skinny Jewish kid refuses to pay protection money. Instead of beating him up, Charles is impressed by his courage. The kid's name is Meyer Lansky. This friendship changes everything. Charles Lucania and Meyer Lansky become partners. They're an unusual pair, Italian and Jew, two groups that traditionally don't mix in the criminal underworld, but they don't care about tradition. They care about money. Together, they build a drug operation, then move into gambling and bootlegging when prohibition starts. Charles gets a new nickname, Lucky. The story goes he survived a brutal attack where rivals slashed his face and left him for dead. He survived. Lucky Luciano. But Lucky's real luck is his vision. He sees what other criminals don't. The ethnic warfare between Italian, Irish, and Jewish gangs is stupid. Everyone's fighting over territory when they could be cooperating and making more money. Early 1920s, Lucky works for Giuseppe Joe the Boss Masseria, one of the most powerful Italian mobsters in New York. Masseria is old-school Sicilian mafia. He believes in tradition, honor codes, keeping crime Italian only. He's suspicious of outsiders. Lucky respects Masseria, but thinks he's outdated. Crime in America shouldn't be about old-world traditions. It should be about profit. Meanwhile, another old guard boss, Salvatore Maranzano, is building power. Tension between Masseria and Maranzano escalates. Both want to control all Italian crime in New York. Both refuse to share power or cooperate with non-Italians. 1930-1931. The Castellamarese War erupts. Masseria's faction versus Maranzano's faction. Dozens of gangsters die. It's brutal, bloody, and most importantly to Lucky, it's bad for business. Lucky sees an opportunity. The old bosses are dinosaurs fighting each other into extinction. Whoever eliminates them and creates a new system will control everything. April 15th, 1931. Lucky invites his boss, Joe Masseria, to lunch at a Coney Island restaurant. They eat, they talk. Then Lucky excuses himself to the bathroom. While he's gone, 4 gunmen enter and shoot Masseria dead. 20 bullets. The old boss is finished. The killers include Bugsy Siegel, Vado Genovese, Albert Anastasia, and Joe Adonis. All young, ambitious gangsters who share Lucky's vision. With Masseria dead, Maranzano becomes the most powerful Italian mobster in New York. He declares himself boss of all bosses and tries to organize the Italian gangs into 5 families with himself as supreme leader. Lucky attends the meetings, bows respectfully, and plans Maranzano's death. Because Maranzano, like Masseria, is old school. He wants to keep crime Italian only. He doesn't understand that America is different from Sicily. September 10th, 1931. Only 5 months after Masseria's death. 4 men dressed as federal agents enter Maranzano's office. They're actually Jewish hitmen hired by Lucky and Meyer Lansky. They shoot and stab Maranzano to death. That same day across America, dozens of old guard Mafia bosses are killed in coordinated hits. It's called the Night of the Sicilian Vespers. Though historians debate the exact number, the message is clear. The old Mafia is dead. Lucky Luciano has killed both major bosses and eliminated the old guard. Now he can build something new. Lucky Luciano doesn't declare himself boss of all bosses. That's the mistake Maranzano made. Instead, Lucky does something revolutionary. He creates a corporate board. He establishes the Commission, 6 crime families in New York, plus representatives from Chicago, Buffalo, and other cities. They meet regularly to settle disputes, approve major operations, and maintain peace. This is unprecedented. Lucky is applying American corporate structure to organize crime. The commission is like a board of directors. Each family is like a division of a corporation. Disputes are settled through voting and negotiation, not automatic warfare. The genius of this system, it's multi-ethnic. Lucky includes Jewish gangsters like Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel as equal partners. Irish criminals are brought into certain operations. Lucky proves that cooperation across ethnic lines makes everyone richer. This violates every traditional mafia principle. The Sicilian mafia was blood-based, ethnically exclusive, honor-bound. Lucky's organization is profit-based, multi-ethnic, business-oriented. Lucky creates rules for the commission. No killing family members of other criminals, no killing law enforcement or journalists. It brings too much heat. Major decisions require commission approval. Disputes are settled through negotiation. Violence only as last resort. Territory is respected, but cooperation is encouraged. These rules transform organized crime from chaotic gang warfare into a stable, profitable system. Bodies stop dropping, profits soar. Everyone makes more money. Lucky also pioneers diversification. His organization controls bootlegging during Prohibition, but also gambling, loan sharking, labor racketeering, prostitution. When Prohibition ends in 1933, many gangsters go broke because they only knew bootlegging. Lucky's empire barely notices because he's diversified. But Lucky's most profitable and destructive innovation is heroin. 1930s, 1940s. Lucky establishes connections with Sicilian and French suppliers. He creates a sophisticated importation and distribution network. Heroin comes from Turkey and Southeast Asia, gets refined in France, the French connection, smuggled into America, and distributed through Lucky's network. This makes astronomical profits. We're talking tens of millions of dollars annually, equivalent to billions today. But it also destroys communities, particularly black neighborhoods where much of the heroin is sold. Lucky insulates himself through layers of organization. He never touches drugs personally. He has buffers between himself and street-level operations. This makes him nearly impossible to prosecute for his actual crimes. But Lucky has an enemy, Thomas Dewey, an ambitious prosecutor who wants to be governor, maybe president. Dewey knows Lucky is behind massive criminal operations but can't prove it, so he tries a different approach. Dewey prosecutes Lucky for compulsory prostitution, for forcing women into sex work. It's a stretch legally, but Dewey makes it work by pressuring prostitutes to testify. Many are terrified of Lucky but more terrified of going to prison themselves. June 1936. Lucky Luciano is convicted and sentenced to 50 years in prison. He's 38 years old. Most think his career is over. They're wrong. Even from prison, Lucky runs his organization through trusted lieutenants like Frank Costello and Vito Genovese. The structure he created is so solid it operates without him physically present. Then World War II creates an extraordinary opportunity. The U.S. military is worried about sabotage on the docks. New York's waterfront, controlled by Lucky's organization, is crucial for wartime shipping. The military approaches Lucky through intermediaries. The deal: Lucky uses his influence to prevent sabotage and ensure smooth dock operations. In return, maybe consideration for early release. Lucky agrees. His people control the docks. Sabotage virtually stops. The military gets reliable shipping. After the war, this service becomes Lucky's ticket out. New York's governor commutes Lucky's sentence on condition he's deported to Italy. Lucky is released after serving 10 years. He's 48 years old, still sharp, still connected. He's deported to Italy, but immediately starts rebuilding his heroin empire from Europe. He can't return to America, but he can still profit from American drug demand. Lucky establishes himself in Italy, maintains contact with American associates, and expands the international heroin trade. He's now operating globally, pioneering the kind of transnational criminal networks that will dominate late 20th and 21st century organized crime. January 26, 1962, Naples, Italy. Lucky Luciano dies of a heart attack at Naples airport. He's 64 years old. He dies planning another meeting with American associates about drug operations. His body is returned to America and buried in New York. Thousands attend his funeral. The FBI photographs everyone, creating a who's who of American organized crime. But Lucky's death is just the beginning of his influence. What he created doesn't die with him. It becomes the blueprint for organized crime worldwide. First and most importantly, the Commission. The governing body Lucky created in 1931 continues operating until the 1990s. For 60 years, it's the supreme authority of the American Mafia. It settles disputes, approves major operations, maintains the structure Lucky designed. Even when the FBI finally dismantles it through RICO prosecutions in the 1980s and 90s, the concept persists. Criminal organizations worldwide still use commission-style governing bodies because Lucky proved the model works. Second, Lucky's multi-ethnic approach to crime becomes standard. Before Lucky, criminal gangs were ethnically exclusive. After Lucky, cooperation across ethnic lines becomes normal. The Italian Mafia works with Jewish syndicates, Irish gangs, later with Black and Latino organizations. This cooperation is purely pragmatic, based on profit, not ideology, exactly as Lucky envisioned. Modern drug cartels operate the same way. Mexican cartels work with Italian Mafia, Chinese triads, Russian organizations. Ethnicity matters less than capability and profit. Third, Lucky's corporate structure for crime becomes universal. Modern criminal organizations have hierarchy, specialization, insulation between levels. Drug cartels are structured like corporations. Terrorism networks use cell structures borrowed from organized crime. Cybercrime syndicates operate with Lucky's principles: compartmentalization, profit focus, calculated risk. Fourth, the international drug trade. Lucky pioneered is now a trillion-dollar global industry. The routes he established, Turkey to France to America, evolved into worldwide networks. The heroin business he built expanded into cocaine, methamphetamine, fentanyl. Law enforcement still fights the systems Lucky created 90 years ago. The DEA, international drug treaties, interdiction efforts, all responding to structures Lucky pioneered. Fifth, Lucky's influence on popular culture is immense. He's a character in The Godfather Part 2, Boardwalk Empire, Mob City, and dozens of other films and TV shows. He's the template for the sophisticated, business-minded crime boss. Martin Scorsese's gangster films owe debt to Lucky's legacy. Goodfellas, Casino. The Irishmen all depict organized crime as business, exactly Lucky's innovation. The Godfather explicitly shows the transition Lucky represented. Vito Corleone is old school, traditional, honor-based. His son Michael is modern, business-oriented, willing to work with anyone for profit. That generational shift is Lucky Luciano's story. The Sopranos explores organized crime as corporate dysfunction, family business destroying families. Tony Soprano running his crew like a dysfunctional company. That's Lucky's legacy. Crime as capitalism. Video games borrowed heavily from Lucky's organizational structure. Grand Theft Auto. Mafia games. Any game featuring organized crime uses the hierarchical structure Lucky created. Sixth, Lucky changed law enforcement. The difficulty of prosecuting him for his actual crimes, having to get him on prostitution charges instead of murder or drugs, taught law enforcement they needed new tools. This leads to RICO laws, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, passed in 1970. RICO allows prosecution of entire organizations, not just individuals. It targets the structure Lucky created. The FBI's organized crime task forces, wiretapping laws, witness protection programs, all developed to fight structures Lucky pioneered. Seventh, Lucky proved that crime could be more profitable than legitimate business if organized properly. His multi-million-dollar empire demonstrated that illegal markets, particularly drugs and gambling, generate massive profits. This lesson wasn't lost on future criminals. Every drug kingpin from Pablo Escobar to El Chapo followed Lucky's blueprint. Build an organization, diversify operations, insulate yourself through layers, corrupt officials, use violence strategically, not emotionally. Eighth, Lucky's deportation and continued operations from Italy proved organized crime could be transnational. He pioneered the international criminal network operating across borders, coordinating activities globally. Modern transnational crime, whether drug trafficking, human smuggling, money laundering, or cybercrime, follows Lucky's model. Criminal organizations are now global enterprises, exactly as Lucky demonstrated. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime estimates transnational organized crime generates $870 billion annually. That industry, that structure, that global reach, Lucky Luciano pioneered it. But Lucky's legacy is morally complicated. He was a brilliant organizer and visionary businessman. He created a system that brought stability and enormous profits. But that system was built on human suffering, drug addiction, prostitution, violence, corruption. The heroin trade he pioneered has killed millions. The organizational structures he created enabled unprecedented criminal operations. The corruption he systematized undermined democratic institutions. Lucky Luciano made crime efficient, profitable, and sophisticated. Whether that's an accomplishment or a tragedy depends on your perspective. So how did Lucky Luciano change the world? He killed the old mafia and created modern organized crime. He transformed primitive, violent gangs into sophisticated, corporate-style organizations that still dominate global crime. He created the Commission, a governing body that ruled American organized crime for 60 years and became the template for criminal organizations worldwide. He pioneered multi-ethnic criminal cooperation, proving that profit mattered more than tradition or ethnic loyalty. He diversified criminal operations like a modern corporation, ensuring sustainability regardless of law changes. He built the international heroin trade into a multi-billion-dollar industry that persists today. He proved crime could be more profitable than legitimate business if structured properly. He influenced law enforcement, leading to RICO laws and modern organized crime prosecution strategies. He shaped pop culture, becoming the template for every sophisticated crime boss in films, TV, and games. Most fundamentally, Lucky Luciano proved that crime, organized like a business with corporate structure, multi-ethnic cooperation, and strategic thinking, could become a permanent industry generating billions of dollars. He didn't just commit crimes. He created a system, a blueprint, a corporate structure for criminality that still followed worldwide. Lucky Luciano died in 1962. But the world he created, the structures he built, the principles he established, they're still here. Every drug cartel, every organized crime family, every transnational criminal network operates in the world Lucky Luciano designed. That's how a gangster becomes the architect of an entire criminal industry. That's how Lucky Luciano changed the world forever.